What's up, guys? Welcome back to the show. Today we are talking about the average age of home buyers in America. The age increased to 56 years old. Can you believe that? Now, the average home buyer in America is 56 years old. It went from 49 years old just last year, which shows the state of the economy, where the market is headed. And it's just an interesting topic that we're going to discuss. And we're going to discuss about the age, what's caused that, and also as realtors, if we're kind of doing the right thing with our marketing to meet that audience, or if we're kind of completely off the chart with that. So let's get into it.
Let's defer to the oldest one here.
Yeah, you're pretty much in that age group, right?
Oldest demographic. Hey, what is your thought
so
process?
I'll just read this quickly for you guys, right? I made this post on Facebook. It was a ChatGPT post, but that's okay. Home buyers are older than ever. The average home buyer is now 56 years old, up from 49 years. From last year. First-time home buyers, just 25% of the market with a median age of 38 years old. So first-time home buyers are only 38 years old. The thing is, what I was thinking about is if that's the average age of a home buyer now, and if you look at people doubling down on video, on social media with the marketing, but the average age of a social media user is between 28 and 35, right? Even Facebook, still people in their 50s are not really using it that much. I was curious to get your thoughts on first that, as to what you guys think about how realtors are doing marketing with this data. This is real stuff. It came from a National Association of Realtors. This is the age. This is who is buying homes right now. People in their 20s are not buying homes right now. Even in their early 30s are not buying homes right now. Even the first-time home buyers are 38 years and older. It's a reflection of where we are in the economy, that very few people right now are just buying homes. What do you think about realtors sticking with the content, with the videos, and doing that?
So this is awesome for a podcast topic, because obviously there's so much here to unpack.
We're actually trying this week. So
that's good. I'm trying to be relevant. All right. So to address the social media question, which is an excellent question, I think you have to really look at it from a perspective of segregating the audiences. Because as you mentioned Facebook, right? We know that Facebook does tend to trend older than others as far as the user's concerned, right? So maybe it's average age, I don't know, late 40s, right? Versus an Instagram where average age might be early 40s or late 30s, versus a TikTok that might be 20s, right? So I think what realtors have to do is, first of all, if you do have a social media strategy, it has to be diversified. You can't be putting the same content across all the different platforms, or you can't just choose one platform if you're trying to reach a diverse audience, right? So it's about being more specific to the audience you're trying to reach, and then utilizing a platform that might be reaching them. So for example, you mentioned Facebook again, slanting older. If you're trying to reach a home seller, your likelihood of reaching a home seller probably much higher on Facebook than it is on TikTok, right? So you have to think about what strategy you're using. Do I think social media can still be a really effective tool? 100%. What social media definitely still does is it helps brand who you are and give that authenticity level. Most of the agents I talk to say that their best Instagram content, Facebook content comes from stories. Right. And because the stories are telling what they do and how they live their life, and it makes them relatable to others. It's not so much about real estate content, right? Pretty houses, all that stuff. It's more about relatability. So I still think social media is important for relatability. I do think you have to segregate your strategy based on who you're trying to reach. But your point is well taken. Do we need to put a full emphasis on that? Can agents continue to just utilize social media to thrive in their business as a single lane? Time might be limited for that.
So exactly. So here's my question. If you had to choose between doing mailers, because you're sending mailers to 56-year-old potential consumers, versus making a video for that consumer, which route, if you had one route to choose, like if an agent was asking you as a coaching client right now, I want to choose one route for the next 24 months. to get actual business? Which route would you choose knowing this information?
So the other factor, the most important factor in determining that answer is what's their budget, right? Because ultimately, one of the main reasons that people turn to social media is because it's free, right? You can just sit there and make content and put it out there. So when it comes to like a geographic farming campaign, if you're saying, yeah, I want to mail this neighborhood 24 times in the next 24 months, well, that's going to run you potentially $24,000, right? Or more. So you have to think about budget, and you have to think about what is it that you can be consistent with. Consistency being the number one determining factor as to those methods. Can those methods work? Absolutely. Can geofarming work? Absolutely. It's been proven. Do most agents start and then fall off? Absolutely. Yeah. And that becomes the biggest problem, or they just quit too early to get the result. So it really does depend on what their budget is to help them answer that question. All things equal, if you took budget completely out of it and you were able to hyper target the audience you want to reach with the medium that they choose to engage with, whether that's a mailer or whatever, then I would probably go that route and say, you're targeting the person you're trying to reach, and you can hit them with the message you want them to read. So yeah, I'd say it's probably a better way of hyper targeting someone.
Got it.
Yeah, I think for me, the social media aspect of it, I think there are enough of the older demographic on Facebook now where if you're utilizing it, there's not just belly-to-belly friendships on Facebook that you can utilize. There's social groups and other avenues that you can intertwine your life with in terms of getting in front of somebody to maybe build a relationship out with somebody that fits that demographic of where the older buyer is now. I just think social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, whatever you use, is so powerful to grow a brand long term versus just mailing. If you're just mailing, you're not growing that audience from a younger demographic that would grow with you through the years. So as you grow as an agent, and as they mature, if they're seeing your content, they're going to be working with you and they're going to get referrals from them. Plus, you're going to be, if you're doing it the right way, should be getting active business from people that are active in other platforms of Facebook and avenues and groups and whatnot that are in there. So I think there's more leverage play there. It's easier to build a better audience that I think will grow long term versus the direct mailing. That's just my personal experience. So I haven't done a lot of direct mailing. I've done some of it, but not a huge success rate with it. So it's you have to be so consistent with it. And to Justin's point, like, it's expensive, very, very expensive. And it's not one of those things you can do one time and find success at it. It's going to take you 6, 12 months, 18 months to really grow some type of presence someplace and see a return on that. I think it's, mailing is, I would say, at least a 2-year to 3-year play to do it, to invest in it, to get a return on it. I don't think what you're doing day one is going to be the most beneficial for you.
And really, there's actually no right answer to that question, because ultimately your marketing has to be a tiered and layered approach, right? So going all in on social media and doing nothing else, probably a bad move. Going all in on geographic farming and doing nothing else, probably a bad move. I like a layered approach where Jason Pantana says this from Tom Ferry World. He says, I want to be the agent, or you want to be the agent that someone stops and says, man, I see you everywhere. Now, what's beautiful about that is you don't have to hit them 4 or 5 different times. If the likelihood of someone remembering you and thinking that they see you everywhere increases exponentially if they just see you in 2 different mediums. Right? Okay. So if they see a sign of yours with your face on it and all the things, that's one hit. And then if later in the day they get your postcard, they're like, man, I see this guy all over the place. Yeah. When realistically, they only got 2 hits. Right? So you have to think about the layered approach. So going all into one avenue, very dangerous unless you have supreme confidence that that's going to pay off for you over the long run. And the other aspect of it, with markets shifting all the time and the way they do, I saw a lot of agents that were all in on one particular marketing initiative who really struggled after, during these downturns and market swings and everything. I mean, you even said to me, dude, I think I need to diversify my lead generation, because I'm always like my database and my sphere and the people that are connected to me are always there. But in the times where they kind of slowed down for you, you were like,
Something to fall
I'm a
back
one-trick
on.
pony. I don't have anything else. What do I do?
Yeah.
Right? So
Right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please help Brendan if you're watching this.
Okay. So I'm going to push back on you guys just a little bit, right? Because I do want to focus on the data. I'm just looking at this as if I was literally just looking at Excel spreadsheets and I didn't know anything about what we do on the sales side. Removing Sphere and database, because that's, I think, a little bit different. If you're looking at it as far as just simply generating leads, so creating marketing for generating leads. What I do agree with you about is that you have to have a multiple layered approach in the marketing. I think that's 100% right. But I think we shouldn't ignore the fact that the average age of a home buyer is 54 years old. And I think we shouldn't ignore what I'm about to read right now. Ready? Mm-hmm. Are you ready? All right. So I just looked up the average age of 3 social media platforms that I think are relevant. As of July 2024, the largest group of Facebook users in the United States is between the ages 25 to 34. Okay. Instagram. As of this is YouTube. As of July 2024, the largest age group among YouTube users worldwide is 25 to 34. Now, it's probably going to be the same in the US. And I also asked it for Instagram. The average age for Instagram, like you said earlier, is between 18 and 34. I can find out for TikTok, but I guarantee it's going to be a little bit lower than that, right? Now, the thing is, what I can tell you from experience, because I've done YouTube, right? And I've done a ton of deals from my YouTube content. And if you look at my YouTube content now and the leads that I get, it's dropped by 90%. Okay. But by the time when rates were lower, where the average age of the first time home buyer was, at some point it was what, like 27,
Right.
28? I was blowing up with YouTube. I thought this was going to be my thing. Like you said, I went all in on YouTube because I'm like, okay, I'm going to sell 40 houses a year doing this. And I like doing it. And it's going to be simple. And then once rate went up, now the people who are watching my videos cannot afford to buy homes.
Yes.
So same with my Facebook posts, right? Or Instagram posts. People are liking them and sharing them, but those are not the people who are actually doing business. The people who are buying homes are at their restaurant or at their church, and they're going to see a mailer or a signpost. It's the data. They're not on Facebook or they're not on social media. So I think it's very important that we think about the efforts, right? Because right now this is just a very serious time as a realtor, and I think we have to figure out where are we putting our effort and our time. Here's the other thing: you get false feedback from social media when we post a video, because guess what? If you post a cool video, who is the first one to comment, "Oh wow, that's a great video"?
Other realtors.
Other realtors, right? Like, oh yeah, that's a great video. Like, I got 100 likes. It's all other realtors liking each other's shit. Like, that's our feed. Oh, like, oh, this is good. Like, I got a lot of followers, right? So it's important to look at that dynamic and see, okay, like my clientele is not really engaging. By the way, when I posted this on Facebook, and I had 3 of my clients private DM me having conversation. They don't want to comment and get it, but then realtors are like talking about it and doing that stuff. So I think it's important to separate these two. And when you look at the real estate influencers, they're followed by other real estate agents.
Oh, yeah.
They're not followed by consumers.
No.
And I just think it's important to like figure out to give the right message, because everybody's been talking about it. And I love video, right? We do it, but is it it's serving a purpose, but is it serving the purpose which it is intended to serve?
Right. I mean, your question was about leads, right?
Yes.
You were asking about where do we get leads from, right?
Closings.
I mean, to me, real estate's one of those things you can get business from everywhere and anywhere at any given time. But if your attention's like focused on the average age of the demographic of people, what would you do? Because I talk about social media, we talk about direct mailing. What other avenues can you get in front of them?
So I ended my post with on Facebook with, should we go back to the old school methods, right? And what are the old school methods? Mailers,
Door knocking, cold calling,
door knocking, face-to-face networking. Okay, if your average, let's say you live in Barrington, right? If your average home buyer, right, and home seller, because they're going to be the same age, is around 56 years old, where are you going to most likely find them?
Do you think those same avenues and efforts work the same way in 2025 with, technology and, people like have Ring doorbells now? They'd be like, I'm not going to answer that door. I think there's going to be a limitation at some point. Again, sales, and no matter what you're selling, is a numbers game. If you go knock on 1,000 doors, are you going to get something? Probably. But is it effective? Is it a good use of time? Could you use that time someplace else that's going to be more highly efficient? But it's like, what do you do, though?
I think one of the reasons for the shift to social media is scalability.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I can reach 5,000 people if I follow the algorithm. Right? You can do it organically, inorganically. I mean, there's ways to do it, but I know I could go out and reach 5,000 people with one piece of content. If I needed to go reach 5,000 people in Barrington, I have to knock on every single door in the town.
It'll take you months.
Right? So scalability, I know, is one of the reasons why there's been a mass turn to social media. But I think what you're hinting at is true. Like, is there a false expectation there too? And it's a poignant question. One thing I really want to point out too is we can't be overreactionary either. I believe that data is an anomaly. 56 years old this year is the average home buyer, right? Up from 49 last year. How do you jump 7 years in 1 year, right? As far as age is concerned, I'll tell you exactly how. Because who are the people that are actually able and affording to buy a house?
Just gonna say,
I was going to shift the conversation to that.
Right. So we're talking about all these people with massive cash influxes, and that's what we've seen. I don't know the data on it. I'd actually like to see that. Maybe you can look it up on your little contraption over here. But I'd like to know what percentage of homes were bought last year with cash, and I guarantee it's at an all-time high.
I agree.
Because that alone, the influx of cash in the market has significantly skewed the age to an older. I don't think that, let me rephrase that. I do think that the quote unquote home ownership dream has been deteriorated in the younger crowd versus from where it was before. But I don't believe it's so significant that people aren't interested in purchasing homes. I just think that the ones that have been able to over the last 2 years specifically have been the older crowd. So I truly believe once rates relax, once the market does balance, that number is going to shrink right back down to probably mid-40s again.
Yeah, what I was going to say, I was going to curious to see what would be the average age in 2020, 2021 when the rates were 2.5%, 3% versus
probably
what they
30s.
are now.
Yeah. That's what it was. It was literally almost the opposite. The headlines then were how young people are buying real estate.
Well, yeah, because
now it's this, right?
I've said this. Headlines are so deceptive. No matter what industry it is, they're deceptive. You got to be careful and you do your due diligence and read through what they're actually talking about, because they lead you to believe something different than what it really means. So.
32.6% of all U.S. home sales in 2024 were made in cash last year.
So a third.
Here's there is this author that I do not remember his name now, but he wrote a book about wealth creation and all that stuff. But he spends half of his book talking about the current economic situation in America, really from 2000 since the crash and where we are now and how we got here, and then especially what happened between 2020 and now. Okay. All the monetary policies that were created, all the decisions that were made, all the regulation that is made on new construction, on making things to be difficult, all these things are being designed, controlled, promoted, and pushed by boomers. Okay? Boomers are the ones who are buying these homes in cash. Okay? All the money that was printed, where did it end up? Ended up in the stock market. Who owns the majority of the stock market? Boomers, whose net worth exploded throughout the years. It's the boomers' net worth that exploded. Who suffers? It's us who are like in this. We're supposed to be in the stage where we build wealth right now, but it's much more difficult now to buy the house. So we are rate dependent. We are economy dependent. Boomers are in their own economy. Yes. Okay, they don't really care if you can buy a house in cash. The rate could be. But here's the thing. if rates are at 7%, boomers are putting their cash in a bank account and making 6% on their cash, right? So that's where the change is. And that's why the average age of a home buyer is that. And then also that's why the sales are down 40% or however low they are. It's because of these problems, because young people are simply rate dependent, and most of them cannot afford a home right now.
So here's the big question. How do you fix it?
Okay. I think...
Now we're getting into the weeds now.
I know. I love it. This is good. First off, I think the fix, this is not going to be a quick fix. No. I don't think this is we go to a conference and say, oh, rates are going to drop next year and we're going to be better. This is going to be a slow and painful adjustment. Mm-hmm.
It has to be. There's no other way,
because now we're living in a real economy.
If you just drop rates down, prices go back up, and the affordability stays the same. So it doesn't matter.
Exactly. Right. So this is our new reality. This is why I'm trying to have this conversation, because home sales are not going to increase by 40% next year. And under no circumstance that happens. Mm-hmm. Even if rates drop to 3%, they cannot go, because home prices are just like maxed out. You can't do that, right? So it's a very slow adjustment fix that has to do with loosening regulation on new construction homes, so that more homes become available. Slowly dropping rates. Income for people has to go up. Living expenses have to go down for things to slowly adjust. Okay? But unfortunately, it's not happening. Guess what else boomers are doing? They now have so much cash that they're like, oh, I'll keep my house here and then I'll just buy another house. And they're just keeping both houses. I've talked to people like, no, I just have my house. No, I don't want to rent it. They keep it empty. They can afford to do it, right?
Yes.
And you don't blame them. And the funny thing is that they think that they worked really hard and they deserve this. Like but it's literally just they've been born at the right time, did the right things, and then this is just the economy as a result of where they stand. And now, like where we are, we cannot do the same things and expect the same result. I had a client who messaged me. Am I talking too much? Fine.
No, this is great.
No. I have a client who messaged me, and I think she's in her late 40s, if I'm not mistaken. She goes, well, young people don't understand that it takes sacrifice now. It takes sacrifice to buy a house. You can't be buying, Starbucks and things like that, she was saying, right? Yeah. I was like, I do agree with you. I know a lot of young people who are going on vacation 3-4 times and all that, but there's also data that shows that a lot of people, it's a record high number where a lot of people don't believe they're ever going to own a home. Mm-hmm. They don't think they'll ever be able to own a home. So they've just given up on it. And now they just living life experiences. They think they're always going to rent just because it's gone away from that.
So there's a couple things there too. I think in that vein that a lot of younger potential home buyers, we'll call them, right? People that could potentially enter the market as a buyer who have chosen not to or resigned to the fact that they won't. They're now enjoying that lifestyle. They don't want to be tied down to a home. They want to travel, right? With travel being what it is now, they hey, you know what? I'm free. I can move. I can do what I want. I can explore different things. I can, look at the average marriage age. Right? The average marriage age now is well into the 30s as well. A huge difference from 25 years ago. And I think that has a lot to do with it. What are these young couples doing? They're traveling, they're moving, they're exploring way longer than they were before, where it was like, okay, I'm 22, now I'm going to buy a house and live here for 30 years.
Right.
That doesn't happen anymore. Mm-hmm. Right? So I think those people are living a more transient lifestyle. And that's only going to continue. Then if we want to really go deep on that rabbit hole, back to what you were saying before, that the boomer economy is controlling it and Wall Street is controlling it, that transient lifestyle, they're promoting that transient lifestyle because guess what? They want renters. Yeah. They don't want homeowners. They want renters. Yeah. Right. Because what are they doing? They're buying all the houses.
Money. Yeah.
So they want renters. They love a renter economy. They love a transient economy. They love setting it up that home ownership is no longer the dream. Yeah. Right? So that's only going to continue because they have a huge influence on the market. Yeah. So it is really a shift. I do think we are in the middle of a huge shift in the interest of home ownership and what that actually means.
Right.
And Matt Patty actually brought up a good point this morning, and he's, we were talking about this. I said, how do you help control the narrative with these people, with the younger generation? And he made a good point. He said, it's not about having them think, I can't afford to buy a home. You have to paint the picture for them on how can they not afford to buy a home.
Yeah.
Right? What are they costing themselves by not buying a home? But the problem is the picture's not so clear. It's not even clear for us to be able to explain it to somebody. I can't sit here and guarantee someone that they're going to be better off buying a home right now and sitting on it for 10 years. Am I pretty sure about it? I am.
Yeah.
But you know what? Could they go stick that in some weird cryptocurrency and quadruple their money? Of course.
Yeah.
Right? So, and I think that actually has taken over that younger generation. Yeah. They are a crypto economy. They are thinking about how to scale things by 1,000%. Right? They don't want the gradual increase anymore. So I do think that home ownership idea has deteriorated somewhat.
Yeah. I think, not that I agree with everything this guy says at all, but Grant Cardone was always saying that homeownership is dead and the renter economy is the future, which I don't entirely disagree that homeownership is dead, but there is something to be said about the renter economy. I think with COVID happening, technology evolving, it gives people more transient lifestyle. They can go live in one place and still work someplace else. They don't need to be home.
Right.
They can go, if you want to go live in Paris and work in New York, you can do that now. And you don't need to own a home anymore. So I think it gives people the mobility with technology to be able to have options now. And they like the lifestyle. Be like, I'm going to go live here for a year. And you have a beautiful apartment, these luxury apartment buildings all over the place now. Go live there for a year, go live in California for a year, go live in Florida for a year. And then maybe once you figure out where you love, then you buy a house in your 40s. I think that's happening too. I think we're at the early stages of that happening too. I think we're going to see that trend continue for a while.
Yeah. I'll give you guys one more interesting stat, right? Because you said how Matt was saying how you got to paint the picture for somebody, what it's going to cost them to not own a home, which I do agree. Here's the problem. For a lot of people, they just don't have an option anymore. Even if they say, I want to, they can't buy it. The average price of a home in Rhode Island is over $450 now, right? Like $470 and change. The mortgage with current rates would be about $3,500 a month if you bought a house like that. That's $42,000 a year. The average salary is $83,000. So that's half of your salary a year is going towards your mortgage. Deduct taxes from that, you don't have enough money to live. You just don't have. It just doesn't.
Never mind save. Just like
that's what I'm saying. So now you have to be in the top 3% of income earners to be able to afford a starter home. It's just off. Like the numbers are off. The data's off.
That's why I think you see a lot of people that are buying homes or dual income homes because otherwise you can't do it. You don't see a lot of people that are individuals buying properties themselves.
Absolutely. And so one of the other points to that statistic is, you look back historically, I remember seeing this maybe last year where, in the past, the average cost, the average ratio of someone's income for the cost of living for home ownership for boomers was like 10% of their income, right? Now it's 50%. And now the real problem is, okay, so now they're forced to rent. It's still 30%.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So they
can't save.
They can't save. They can't do anything. The living expenses ratio of income is completely out of whack. No matter which way you slice it. And that is what's going to keep people depressed and unable to continue to move forward because they can't get ahead of that.
Also another record high thing that's been happening that most people are buying homes are taking out loans from their boomer parents. Okay. Help. So most people have some sort of help when it comes to buying a house today. They cannot simply put it together on their own.
For sure.
I just had a closing last week. It was like that. They had a $50,000 gift for a down payment from their father because otherwise they couldn't have the money to do it. Yeah. But you see that a lot. I see it a lot now. Yeah. I know it's happening. So
yeah, no, the money has to come from somewhere, of course.
I know.
But you guys are all right. I mean, we've seen it with buyers that can qualify for houses. I know right now there's a huge amount of indecision in this marketplace. People are very indecisive on both sides of the equation, buyers and sellers, because I am seeing everyone just doesn't know what to do. Do I sell now? Do I buy now? Do I wait? Do I sit? Do I borrow? What do I do? And even when deals are coming together, you guys are probably realizing this too, there's still massive amounts of indecision and regret on both sides. And it's really breeding this ground of a lack of movement because deals are falling apart, right? Over silly, stupid things. But I think it's becoming that fear factor of like, am I doing this the right thing? Or should I just be wait? This is a sign. This is a sign I should wait, right? This is a sign I shouldn't be buying this house, you know? And it's like, whoa. But that's happening, that indecision. Because again, nobody can paint that clear picture of what's happening or what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm going to try to say this, that I know it's really hard right now to buy a home, but I do still think that if you can somehow figure out, sacrifice whatever it takes to buy a home, I do think 5 years from now, you're going to be 10 times better off than the person who chose to not do it because it was too hard. It's going to be hard. No matter how you look at it, you might have to at some point get an extra job just to support your life. But 5 years from now, you're just going to be better off because there's just no indicator that says that prices are going down.
Yeah.
Like there's just nothing out there. So I think still, however, whatever you have to do to figure it out, you should figure it out to buy
There's
something.
a saying, I forget exactly where it comes from, but it's choose your hard. Like it's either going to be hard now or hard later.
Yeah.
Choose hard now because, my father always told me, he still tells me all the time right now, just buy anything, you'll be happy in 5 years from now. And I know people are going to say, well, it's inflated, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, but there's not more inventory just magically going to come up. It's being held right now. And until that's released, there's no way that we can have an oversupply of homes, which means values go down. We're so far from that, it's not even close. So you can choose to be hard now, or you can choose it to be more hard or more difficult in 5 years from now.
Yeah.
So I was literally going to say that. It's a Tom Ferry saying, choose your hard.
Yeah.
I love it. And there's a lot of agents that are in this zone right now, but just in general, like for those people, my advice is straightforward. Stop being a bitch and show up.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's what we have to do right now. It's we can't whine and sit and, oh, woe is me. The economy's this, I can't do that, blah, 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 blah. Like you said, you know what? I'm going to suck it up. I'm going to get an extra job. I'm going to grind my face off for 5 years so that I'm setting myself up for my future. And I do think, and this is probably off topic, but personal responsibility is so lost right now. But you got to own your shit. And if you want to move ahead, right? We don't always have the time to show up to shoot a podcast that nobody watches, right? But guess what? We're here. We're doing it.
Yes.
Right? And we have to do that. I went to sleep at 1 o'clock in the morning last night because I'm writing my emails and I'm taking care of things and I'm, I have to help out my agents and this and that. I don't want to do that. I wanted to go to sleep last night at 9 o'clock. But guess what? I show up. Right? Grind. We have that grind is people, we use that term and people, grind and grind. No, it's true.
No. Right now you have to grind.
Right now
harder
you have to
than
grind.
ever.
Yes.
Harder than ever. You're right, dude. No excuses. No excuses. I know this is now, I was going to go even more off topic, but I was journaling the other day. And I always say, it's going to be exciting. But first I meditated for 20 minutes and then I journaled. And I journaled about personal responsibility. And I realized how it's directly connected to growth. People who don't take responsibility, if you do something wrong, right? And if you somehow always figure out how to finesse the situation where it's not directly your fault and kind of nobody really thinks, oh, no, it wasn't his fault. You think of yourself, oh, I'm like brilliant and smart. Like I manipulated the situation for somebody to not think they're smart. Your likelihood of repeating the same mistake is extremely high because you didn't take responsibility. But if you fuck something up or if you're in a situation where it's just bad, right? If you just say, I take responsibility, but not just I take responsibility, I accept whatever is coming my way because I took responsibility. I lose my job, divorce, jail, whatever it means, you took responsibility. Now you're going to pay the dues that you deserve because you did what you did.
Right.
It's going to be hard for a while, but you're going to become a new human being once you're on the other side because of the fact that you took responsibility. You grow. And this is exactly what you can do in this situation. You can complain the economy's hard. Yes, it's freaking hard, but you need to take a risk. You really do. You need to take a risk and you need to just figure it out. 2 jobs, 3 jobs, I don't care. One piece of advice I'll give, if you want to get parents to help you out with down payments, have a kid. They love the baby, and now they're like, and you just look at them and be like, "Hey,
I need help.
you know what I mean? Like, look at this baby. You want this baby to like not have home equity at some point, and they will help you out."
Yeah.
So I'm just kidding, but yeah. I think you hit it in the head. I think you just got to take responsibility and just do it.
Now's the time. And same thing holds true for agents, right? The agents that want to sit back and, the market's been so tough and this, that, and the other thing. Choose your heart, right?
I caught myself complaining about that this morning. I was like, man, I had no appointments on Monday or Tuesday. It's Wednesday now as we're shooting this. And I'm like, whose fault is that though? You know, I very easily could have done something to generate something and I just didn't do it. So it's my own fault. It's my responsibility to do what I got to do to make sure I get business.
No one cares. At the end of the day, no one cares, dude.
No one feels bad for me.
Yeah.
No one feels bad for you or you. No, you got to get up and do
when
your
we
stuff.
go home, everybody has their own obligations.
Exactly.
Like it's just you figure it out or you don't. You know.
So everyone's got to choose their pain points.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I think it was a really good discussion. If you found some value in this video or this podcast, hit subscribe, leave a comment, and send it to someone who you think might find some value on it. Until the next one.